A lot of educators that I've worked with over the years have told me the same thing. They want to give their students more opportunities for dialogue, especially around divisive issues, but they don't know where to start. It feels really risky, like the conversation could unravel at any moment. Here's the good news. There is a way to open up dialogue on any issue, no matter how charged it is, that is grounded and constructive, and that will expand the minds of your students. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. So hi, if you're new here, my name is McRaney. I've been a dialogue facilitator for about a decade, and now I really focus on helping educators who want to infuse more opportunities for dialogue in their classrooms. I started this channel a little over a year ago to talk about these subjects, and then I sort of fell off the bandwagon because I had a lot of changes in my life. One of those includes a baby. Definitely that's the biggest one, but I also moved. A whole bunch of things happened, which just meant I had no time. But I really want to show up here again and make videos in a perhaps more unscripted, casual way, because let's not lie to ourselves, that is what I have time for right now. So I'd prefer to show up imperfectly than not show up at all. So here we go, let's get into it. So I want to tell you a story that very much ties to the larger purpose of this video. As I just said, I just had a biological child, and this was something that 20-year-old me really thought I wasn't going to do. In my 20s, I was quite convinced that this was not the right choice for me, and this was mostly motivated by my beliefs around environmental sustainability. So 20-year-old me would be pretty shocked and maybe even a little bit disappointed that this is a choice that I did end up making. But here's the interesting part, and what I would like to tell 20-year-old me, it's that my values haven't changed, even though my decisions have. In fact, the very same values that grounded me 10 years ago ground me today, and perhaps even more strongly. So that hasn't changed, but what has changed is the story that I tell myself about how to live out those values. And honestly, that's a pattern that I see in so many other parts of my life. There are plenty of things I said I'd never do, and yet I do them now. And that's not because my values disappeared, it's because my understanding of how to honor them has evolved. And if you're anything like me, and like the vast majority of humans, you can relate to this. Do you do something now that would have made you cringe 10 years ago? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. And I'm also certain that the story you tell yourself about doing those things has changed with you. And this is because we have a deep need to see ourselves as morally consistent. Any big change we make in life comes with a new story about why that change actually matches our belief system better. Because our values matter tremendously. They ground us in who we are, they drive our behavior, and if we really want to understand someone else's actions and behaviors, we have to understand the thought process that went on behind them. The tricky part is that we rarely ever get to hear that backstory. And hearing someone's decision that is different than yours without hearing the backstory almost always drives division. So I was listening to a podcast the other day with McRaney, who's the author of How Minds Change, and he put it really perfectly. He said something like, if you want to influence someone, avoid arguing over their conclusions. Instead, work to discover the motivations behind them. Here's why this matters. For a long time, I thought that my job as a facilitator was to surface and somehow hold everybody's conclusions. So even the conclusions that I disagreed with or found harmful, I somehow needed to find a way to balance them and even discredit them in real time. And that was just really exhausting as a facilitator. Like, that is an impossible task. Feeling like I hadn't adequately and compassionately and responsibly dealt with every opinion in the room would sometimes lead me to spiral for a really long time after workshops. But once I started shifting my perspective and my approach, once I started to see myself not as a referee of conclusions, but as a detective of the motivations behind them, everything really changed and opened up for me. I got more confident and purposeful in my facilitation, and the conversations I was able to hold were deeper and felt like they flowed much more easily. So remember that. Your goal as a facilitator is never to surface people's conclusions, but rather the motivations behind them. So one of the most powerful tools you have as a facilitator is this. When somebody speaks, try to listen to the value underneath of what they're saying. When someone says something and maybe especially something that you disagree with, try and listen for that value. And you can say something like, I hear that this issue really upsets you because you care so much about said value. And I have to say that even though my reasons might be different, I also really care about this value. Do you think that you could share a story with us about why this value matters to you? Or what does that value mean to you in this context? That simple move of naming and inviting a story around a value can really open the door to dialogue. I always say that in dialogue, we're looking for a third way to engage with an issue, right? The culture war debate has positioned this issue as having only two sides. And as the facilitator, I'm trying to find the third way. I'm trying to find a way that we can all engage in dialogue about this issue that doesn't drive us to reproduce the wedge between side A and side B that we're going to find outside the classroom. So this same approach can be used to kick off a dialogue about a controversial issue. I might get into like more academic critical learning about the issue a little bit later, but I like to foreground it in dialogue so that participants have a chance to humanize each other as we're embarking into this learning experience. When I want to lead learning on an issue that I know is a controversial topic, and let's face it, like most things are right now, unfortunately, I like to just name the elephant in the room and name that there is a cultural debate ongoing about this issue. Because whether you name it or not, everyone's already aware of it. So I might say something like, many of us have seen this issue be debated in the media these days. If you had to describe the two sides that are presented, what is each side claiming and what values would they say motivates that claim? So my goal with this is not to invite people's opinion, but to paint a broad picture of the ongoing debate. And then we come together and look for a shared value that both sides hold. And there is always at least one. Usually both sides claim safety or fairness or order or truth. So what's important is to pick one strongly held value that unites both sides and to make that value the purpose of our exploration. And I ask the participants to share, what does that value mean to you? How do you measure that value in your life? And most importantly, what's a personal story that makes you care about this value? And I can make more videos about how this looks with particular issues if you're interested, but this is how the basic approach works. And when those stories start to flow, something really powerful happens. You begin to see that the people who you disagree with, even quite strongly, often care about the same values. They just tell themselves different stories about what it looks like to uphold that value. And everybody sees that perspectives don't fit neatly into side A and side B. And then that allows for a conversation about like, well, why have we been funneled into a conversation that just allows space for side A and side B? Who is benefiting from framing the conversation this way? And I really think that's where growth happens, and that's where growth has always happened for me. When you hear someone else's story behind a value that you both hold that makes more sense, that's the moment when change becomes possible. It's usually not in a debate. It's not when you're arguing to prove that your conclusion makes more sense. But it's in an environment where you feel like you are valued and you have the psychological safety to explore other ways of viewing things. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, that it made you think in some way. Let me know in the comments. I hope to be back here very soon because I have so many things that I want to make videos about. But yeah, that was it for today, and I hope you're having a wonderful day, and good luck out there. It's a tough time for educators, so big solidarity to you.